Well, Brandon, if you want to get rolling.
Yes, thank you. We'll have a call to order. Hope everybody's safe out there and warm this evening. So let's go ahead and just go into our roll call. Mr. Ingram.
I'm here, thankfully.
Ms. Tucker. Ms. Fincher.
Present.
Mr. Gaynor. Not here yet. Ms. Jones. Ms. King.
Here.
Mr. Townsend.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Webb.
Present.
And Ms. Williams.
Present.
Fantastic. So the first item we have this evening in our subdivision review, we have one item under that category, a request for preliminary plat approval of Millers Creek Phase 2 subdivision. I believe we have Mr. Hill to walk us through that this evening.
That's correct. The applicant is requesting preliminary approval of a 46 lot subdivision located at the southeast corner of East German Lane and Lower Ridge Road. The development represents phase 2 of the Millers Creek subdivision, of which phase 1 was approved at last month's meeting. The property was recently rezoned to R2, which is low density residential and allows 2 family uses. The proposed lots range from 7,800 square feet to 16,500 square feet, consistent with the lot requirements of the R2 district. The subdivision will feature one access point from East German Lane and a new internal street that will connect into Millers Creek Phase 1. The proposed lots will be accessed by the new internal street network, and all proposed streets will require 5 feet sidewalks. As noted in the report, one waiver was included in the request for the creation of double frontage lots. Staff has recommended approval of the plat with the conditions noted in the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any specific questions. Do we have the applicant on the line with us? Doesn't appear so.
Yeah, I think Bobby's on the line.
Yes, Bobby. This is Bobby French, Central Arkansas Professional Surveying, 1021 Front Street. Pretty much what Levi said there. I don't really have anything to add unless y'all got any questions.
Commissioners, any questions for Bobby or for staff? Looks good to me. I mean, we've seen this coming, and we're aware. I believe we had some public comment on some of the other developments in the past, concerned about the roadways. And that was about it, just the traffic, the increased traffic. I don't have any other comments. Anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, based on the recommendation of the staff, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. We have a motion on the floor to approve this rezone or preliminary plat approval, excuse me, and a second by Rebecca. All those in favor? Please say
Aye.
Aye.
I need to abstain from this vote, please.
Okay. We have anyone against this motion? One abstention. Do we have any commissioners join us while we were in discussion? Didn't look that way. So it appears we have an approval for a motion with my vote of 6. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Correct. All right, motion passes then.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting, if that's okay.
That's perfectly great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of skipped over that and jumped right into our business.
That's
So-
okay. I'm confident you knew they were so right. We didn't even need to deal with it. So you're just
Yeah.
on top of it.
Been a week since I read those. Sorry. Yeah, so we have the approval of the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, now we'll move into our public hearing portion this evening, which the Conway Planning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on public hearing items. Items reviewed on this agenda will be considered by the City Council as early as February 23rd, 2021. Items not approved by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council within 30 days of Planning Commission denial, with the exception of the decisions made by the Planning Commission acting as the Board of Zoning Adjustment. If an item is appealed to the City Council, a public notice will be placed on the property and at conwayarkansas.gov. So tonight's first public hearing item of the 4 we are looking at is a request to rezone property at 507 Bruce Street from a C3 zoning to an R1 zoning. And I believe Mr. Hill is here to talk to us about that.
Yes. Item 2A is a rezoning request from C1 to R1. As Brandon said, the applicant is requesting the rezoning from the highway commercial zoning district to single family residential for the purpose of constructing a residential subdivision. The property is approximately 4.75 acres and is located at 507 Bruce Street. The surrounding area is zoned and developed with existing commercial and industrial uses. The project site is currently designated commercial by the city's comprehensive plan, which would not be considered consistent with the requested R1 district. A broader look at the comprehensive plan for this area would suggest a continued transition away from single family uses, raising a concern in regards to the appropriateness of the requested district. Upon review of the request, staff feels that the addition of single family uses to the area would be inappropriate and has recommended denial of the request. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can we entertain any, if we don't have any pending questions immediately, entertain any commentary from the applicant?
Yes, thank you for taking up the application. I do understand that it is commercial zoned and it is next to a couple of commercial buildings, warehouse, I would put, but also at the same time, it is right across the huge apartment complexes they are building, like, I don't know, 500 units. And it's also right next to a house that is, again, I'm not sure if it has come to the zoning meeting yet, but the idea of that is also to develop into some housing. Of course, if single family houses is not appropriate, we are willing to put duplexes or some kind of multifamily units there. Also, thinking about it, it's like, each of those, plots are only 150 feet wide. The other one is 150 feet wide, the other one is 125 feet wide. And they extend all the way 750 feet back. The depth is 750 feet. So I'm not sure, if not for housing I can't imagine what else can be put there in such narrow, long plots.
Mr. Pachuri, can I ask you what might have been the appeal for single family residential versus a commercial or multifamily?
From what I understand, we have to have, if we go more than 25 or 30 units, we have to put double access.
Mhm.
And with those two properties being so narrow, you know, it's again, even if we combine, it's like 275 feet. So if we put 50 feet and 50 feet of two roads, like if we make a, you know, going and back a U-turn, you know, it's not viable. All we can put is maximum one, you know, so we can't put multi-units like that. And there is no other way we can get access. There's no access in the back from the Hark Rider. So there's only one access in the front. In fact, we would like to put multifamily, but like again, the dimensions kind of make it infeasible.
I understand.
I think that would, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that would be the same, you know, problem if a challenge, you know, whatever commercial development we have, you know, if we have like, you know, more than certain density, I don't know how we can get double access to it, more than one access. That's again.
Yeah, it appears you're limited to access or any kind of ingress, egress exclusively from Bruce Street. So,
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any additional questions for our applicant? Okay, do we have anyone else here to speak in favor of this request? Seeing that there is none, let's see if we have any opposition to this request. I know we had one written public comment.
Yes. This comment is from Brian and Lori Armstrong at 2130 Blackberry Lane and 72034. Concern, we would like to enter concern/objection for the rezoning request of 507 Bruce from C3 to R1. This is a concern of ours because we own the lot next door, 3.2 acres at 419 Bruce. We purchased that lot because it was zoned C3, and we have been in planning and development to put our shop there since August. Our shop is a 24/7 business, and there will be lights, traffic, noise, C3 activities. We are concerned that someone wanting to put a residential neighborhood right in between two legitimate C3 businesses is nothing but profiteering with no concern for the future residents' peace of mind or resale value. Once people are in the single-family homes, they will start complaining about the business activities next door. Both sides of 507 Bruce will have truck traffic. West Rock Warehouse is on the west with semi-truck traffic 24/7, and then us on the east. You also have Downey Moving and Storage semi-trucks directly across the street. We do not see this as a good idea to anyone other than a developer who will sell the lots, make a quick profit, then never to be seen again, as we will have to deal with complaints for decades to come. If the city is so inclined to allow such a development, then we would ask that the developer be required to construct an 8-foot masonry barrier to help isolate their new residents from the legitimate C3 activities around them. And then they had some following comments. They've been monitoring the YouTube, and they said duplexes are worse. Is this property already sold to this applicant? That was a question. So.
Okay. If I may speak.
Yes, you may.
Yeah, we actually, one of the first things we did is once we entered into a contract, okay, like to clarify the latter comment, we are under a purchase agreement and we are looking to close within the next 1 week or 10 days. And once we entered the agreement, in fact, I did meet Mr. Bruce Armstrong. He owns the Haynes Auto Shop. We met him there. We discussed our plans, and surprisingly, back then he was kind of supportive. And he mentioned that they were putting what do you call storage in the back, so it should not be a problem. So again, I was not aware of any further developments on what he wanted to do. Either way, we did plan to put a 8-foot fence in the back, because we were aware that, because it's a car auto shop, and he planned to put, I don't know, collision, I don't know what, his plans, but we plan to put a 8-foot fence, all the way between the proposed layout and the adjoining property owned by the Armstrongs. So we'll be putting an 8-foot fence. And like, again, I said, the whole idea came from looking at the luxury apartments they're building across the street, and we thought, this kind of goes in hand with them. So if the trucks are not a bother to the luxury apartments over there, we hope it's not a bother to us. And not only that, we are not looking to sell all the lots. Again, I can't assure how many or what. We are still getting the budget and everything planned out. So we do plan to keep some of the lots and build some, keep units for rental purposes. So it's not like we are going to sell the lots and never be seen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Welcome, thank you.
James, do we have any more public comment that's been received?
We do not.
Okay. Also let the record show that Commissioner Gaynor was able to hop on, so we have another voting member along here with us.
My apologies. I never received the link, but I was able to get it from staff. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if we don't have any additional public comment, we can bring this back into commission for discussion. Commissioners, any further questions for staff or the applicant? We'll bring it back in for discussion.
I have a quick question, Brandon. I'm looking at the map and I see where most of it is zone C3. I also see, kind of in between, there's an R1 and an R2 on the back side of that. In going with the comprehensive plan, is the hopes that somehow that all becomes C3?
So the comprehensive plan for most of the area to the east there, as you see on the map, it kind of has that dot. That's a special study area, and it kind of notes the central landing PUD, which is more or less geared towards mixed use or multifamily, commercial, kind of entertainment uses. Single family is typically considered to be more a sensitive receptor than multifamily. So that's kind of where that's kind of designated for those mixture of uses, whereas project site in the immediate vicinity is more designated for commercial and industrial.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask a question? Sorry. Now,
yes.
Can we propose to build, again, the idea was to build like 20 to 24 single family houses. But instead of single family houses, if duplexes are preferred, we can just easily change the layout to put like, 10 duplexes or something like that. Would that make a difference in terms of zoning? So instead of going from C3, we can just go to MF1 or MF2.
Levi, you want to take that?
Sure. As far as duplexes go, I don't know that that would change staff's recommendation. Ultimately, you're looking at roughly the same units as the applicant indicated, 30 more or less the cap. So what you're looking at is probably 30 units given the access constraints. Whether those are in duplex form or single family, I don't know. I don't think that would really change staff recommendation. With the multifamily, we could review that. I do think it's worth noting, as you heard from the public comment earlier tonight, the fact that this site will be more or less sandwiched between two intense commercial / industrial uses, I think will always present a challenge for this site to be residentially zoned.
Okay, and to add to that, I'm not sure if you have access to the rough draft that we provided on the layout. The lots are going to be more than 100 feet deep, maybe 120 feet or so deep. So the backyard on the either side is like 40 to 50 feet from the adjacent property. So it's not like they are right close to it. And we can even put some shrubs, bushes, or tall growing trees on one side. Towards the Hark Rider, there are already large trees, and I don't think that's a problem. Noise is an issue. Yeah, even towards I'm bad at the directions towards the east side. I would think Mr. Armstrong's property, even there, in fact, if that's an issue, we can even move it or make the layout such a way that the properties that are adjacent to Mr. Armstrong's property, we can make it even 150 feet deep so that noise is not an issue anymore. And we don't see that as an issue, but at least we are willing to take every step to appease that issue.
Thank you, sir. We'll bring it back in discussion. Does anyone have any favor one way or another?
To me, that's just not cohesive to residential property. So heavily commercial there, and like the opponent said, it's noisy, it's semi trucks, and it's just surrounded by heavy commercial. It's just not a good place for residential, in my opinion.
I agree with Ray.
I do as well. I also have hesitation about, the staff are the experts and we need to look to them to make recommendations. So I have a little bit of concern there. So I'm not sure if there's the opportunity for the applicant to work more closely with staff on another alternative, but I have a little bit of hesitation on that.
I do as well.
I think so also. So it sounds like we have a majority that don't believe that R1 is the appropriate rezoning for this piece of property, and that it should potentially remain as C3 or be approached with staff to look at an alternative.
Are we ready for a vote then?
Yes, ma'am. Happy to entertain a motion.
Okay. I make a motion that we deny the request to rezone 507 Bruce Street from C3 to R1.
Second.
Ms. Williams, do you mind restating that as a motion to approve, just so we, yay is
the affirmative. Okay. Well, then I restate my motion. I make the motion that we approve the request to rezone 507 Bruce Street from C3 to R1.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
I will abstain as I was not present for the entirety of the discussion.
Thank you, Drew. I vote to deny the request as well. So that would put us at 7-6 in denial. Motion does not pass.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your request, sir. We hope you can approach staff with another opportunity that might work better in your favor.
Yeah, we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Our next item on the agenda is a request for a conditional use permit to allow childcare facility in O2 for a property located at 930 Wingate Drive, Building E.
Okay, good evening. So the applicant has requested a conditional use permit to allow a child care center at 930 Wingate Drive in Building E. This building is part of a larger 5-building office park, and the entire property is currently zoned O2. A child care center is not allowed by right in the current zoning, but it is allowed as a conditional use. The comprehensive plan indicates that the site is appropriate for office use, and the site is primarily adjacent to other office and multifamily uses, but it does abut a single-family residence to the south. The applicant proposes to operate the child care center from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and plans to serve fewer than 30 children in the facility. In addition, the applicant plans to establish a fenced outdoor play area at the rear of the building between the single-family residence and the building in an additional parking area. The area is currently paved and it's designated as additional parking, as I said, though it doesn't have direct access from Wingate Drive. You have to drive through the development around to get to it. For this one, staff offers no recommendation regarding the request because there simply weren't enough elements in favor or in opposition to determine if it is an appropriate proposal. Our primary concern was with establishing the outdoor play area in an existing parking area, in an area that's also adjacent to a single-family residence. While this particular use could have significant impacts on the adjacent property, perhaps they may not be severe enough to make the use totally incompatible. However, if the commission recommends approval of the request, I've included 7 proposed conditions that you might consider.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
We have an applicant online to speak in favor of this request.
Hi. Yes, I'm Brandy Hansberry. How are you?
Hey, Brandy, do you mind stating your address for the record?
Yes, 930 Wingate, Building E, Suite 1, Conway 72034.
Great. So you already own this property or operate out of this property?
Oh no, sir. Did you need my personal address?
Oh, either one works. That's
okay.
perfectly
Yes.
fine.
Okay, so no, no, that's just the one we were looking at.
Okay, great. So tell us, have you been approached or been able to see these recommendations that the staff is offering?
Yes, sir. So, yeah, and I'm good with all the recommendations. The one, because with DCCEC does allow concrete and asphalt for children playing on it, as long as there's nothing above 18 inches in height. And at the center that I operate now, we have a concrete playground also, and so it would stay in line with what we're offering now.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Brandy? Brandy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So, Brandy, this is Rebecca. You said that you operate other child care facilities, and this area is zoned, could be zoned for daycare under conditional use. So, the question, really gets down to trust. So do you have any violations or outstanding areas of concern in any of the other daycares that you operate from the Arkansas Department of Health?
You mean when it comes down to our licensing stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we've only been open since September of 2019, our license has just now been moved to a regular license, so it's no longer a probationary license, and so that happened at the end of January.
So I guess the answer is no, you don't have any violations with the Arkansas Department of Health with regard to any other daycares that you run?
If like you do mean like when DHS comes and visits us. With the pandemic, we have had a few because of some confusion on that. Like most of the centers, it was for not wearing a mask when they came in. And then at the beginning, there were some things that had came, but all of that's online. If you go to the Arkansas Child Care website, you can look at everything that we've been wrote up for.
Thank you. The question just comes from conditional use. Like there are certain things like you can only have the kids outside for so long and that sort of thing. So to me, it's just kind of understanding, do you think you can meet those expectations? And is there a pattern of behavior of meeting expectations? And so if you're saying you feel like you meet those or you don't, really is what I'm trying to get at.
Yes, and like I said, and DHS will tell you that we meet those also, because going from a probationary or a provisional license to a regular license is a really big step in your business. And like I said, and we just met that, and DHS would not have given us that if they didn't feel like that we would continue meeting those regulations.
Okay, but just to clarify, how many other violations would there be out there not related to your license?
The only violations we would have would be relating to our license.
So how many do you think there are?
I don't understand the question.
Brandy, I think she's asking, have you been cited by DHS for failure to meet the standards for daycare?
Yes,
Thank you, Ray.
So that's what I had answered before. We have been cited before on stuff. And so like especially most of our stuff has been through the pandemic stuff, because this has been so new for so many different people and just learning things. But like I said, you can access what we've been cited for online because it's available to everybody. And then DHS, if the specialist who comes and sees us weekly, if they had any concerns about what type of childcare that I ran or what type of business I ran, they would not have made my license regular, if that makes any sense.
It does, Brandy, and I think also she's just asking you to address any violations without us having to go and look at the website.
Right, and like I said, the main ones have been like I could go over the list. Y'all will be here for a while, but whenever we first opened, right now with the center that we are, it was an old frat house. And so the bathrooms are kind of in odd spots, and we had sent a child into a 2-year-old room because the bathroom for the 3s was already being used. And DHS came in at that time. So that's why we got rolled up for mixing age groups, because a 3-year-old was in the 2-year-old classroom, even though they wasn't left unattended. And then the other ones was for insurance, because DHS, we were doing school age care this summer, and we were using personal vehicles with permission from parents to use those personal vehicles. But come to find out, you are not allowed to use personal vehicles anymore. And they have since made that clearer on the regulations, which wasn't before. And then, like I said, the mask for not having the mask, which was following a pandemic. And so it's things like that, but nothing that like they had said they were going to close us down or anything.
Okay.
Brandy, how many daycare centers do you operate?
Just the one right now.
Okay.
I have a question relating to the office complex itself. I think that there are 4 other offices or 5. Are all of those child appropriate businesses where it would make sense to have childcare and those businesses in the same location?
I think, I'm sorry, was that for me?
Yeah, you can take it.
There's actually 8 different units over there in that little section, and I've spoke with most of them, and so has the lady that owns the building. So it's like it's a fix-it shop, and then one of them is they're just all different things. One of them is a tax service that's really only there during the busy tax times. One of them is a massage therapist, and so she works more like from 11 to close, and she's not there all the time either. She's there 3 days a week. So when speaking with all of them, they're like they're okay with us being there. And then I also, because the staff asked me to speak to the person behind that the playground would be right up against, and so I went and personally spoke to the person, the owner of the house right behind, and it is a rent house right now, and it's empty. And so the owner doesn't have a problem with the playground being there, and said that any tenant that he plans to rent to, which is he's looking to in April to begin renting, he would let them know that was there before they made the decision.
Beth, did you have any comments about that?
I didn't. I was just going to weigh in based on what Brandy said. I wasn't aware of what other businesses were in there with the exception of the ambulance service. She actually had better information that I could provide.
Thank you both.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners, any further questions for Brandy? Do we have anyone else online speak in favor of this request? Any opposition to this request? No.
We did no. We did have a letter in support, a letter of support.
Okay.
And I'll read that into the record. Dear Commissioners, I'm writing to express my support of Ms. Brandy Hansberry's application for a conditional use permit to operate a daycare on the captioned property. The proposed facility, if permitted, will be located within my district, will serve approximately 27 children, and will create at least 3 new full-time jobs. On more than one occasion, I have heard residents both within and outside my district complain about the problems they face with obtaining affordable childcare. In Conway, slots in daycares are limited, and new parents are advised to sign up as soon as they find out they are expecting. I myself have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and faced this exact problem not long ago. These problems have only been exacerbated by the fact that some other child care facilities, Grace United Methodist Church, whose daycare serves some 70 children, comes to mind, have been forced to close due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I believe that Ms. Hansberry's facility can help alleviate those problems for the people in my district. In support of the application, I would point out that Ms. Hansberry already operates another daycare facility and as such is well versed in the requirements and regulations pertaining to child care and has already obtained DHS licensing approval for the proposed facility in question. I would also respectfully point out that Child Care Network operates a facility approximately 800 feet to the west of the proposed facility in an area zoned O3 restricted office. Child Care Network is permitted to operate a larger facility with more children in a more restricted zoning area barely a block away. Accordingly, I would encourage the Planning Commission to approve the conditional use permit. If any commissioners have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me by telephone or email. Matthew K. Brown.
Thank you, James. So any further public comment?
No, we didn't receive any on YouTube either.
Okay, very well. We will bring it back into commission for discussion. Commissioners, how do you feel?
I have no issue with it.
I agree that childcare, I feel like works in this property. My biggest concern was the neighbor there to the south. But since that's a rent house and that property owner is not concerned about it, then I'm okay with it as well.
Mhm.
Any for further discussion? Entertain a motion.
I move that,
Go ahead, Ray.
I move that we approve the conditional use permit for child care facility at 930 Wingate Drive, Building E, Suite 1.
Second.
Do we want to put into the record that the 7
conditions?
Yes,
Conditions.
staff recommends.
Yes, approval with conditions that are stated by staff.
Great, thank you, Ray. We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any abstentions? Oh, I'm sorry, anyone opposed? No, we have one abstention from Laura. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Good luck, Miss Hansberry.
Thank you.
Our next request is to rezone from R1 to PUD. I don't have an address on here. Where's this at? Mosquito.
Yes, it's currently not addressed, but it is 5 acres just north of Gentry Lake. It's kind of northwest there of West End Street and Lakefront Drive. It's a property that's kind of down the hill from the Grandview Heights area. The applicant is seeking to rezone the property from R1 to PUD with the plans to develop a 4-lot single-family subdivision with gated access. The reason the applicant is requesting rezoning to PUD is to allow the new drive, which will be Lake Crest Drive, to be a private drive and for it to be gated. The comprehensive plan indicates the area is appropriate for single-family residential use. We held a public information meeting virtually via Zoom on February 1st. We had 8 members of the public, planning staff, the property owner, and the project manager that participated. If the property is developed as proposed in the 4 lots, the likely increase in traffic impact would be minimal, yielding an estimated 38 vehicle trips per typical weekday. Planning staff recommends approval of the rezoning request as it will allow appropriate use of the property and will not likely negatively impact adjacent property. We do recommend the following conditions for the development plan. I've included 10 of them. Would you like me to read them into the record?
That's not necessary for me.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bev.
You're welcome.
And so my first observation would just be with that gate for fire access. I didn't hear you say one way or another if fire marshal had any commentary on that.
We currently, they don't review these requests, although other private drives that are gated in the city all have the appropriate knock boxes to allow emergency services to access the property. So they would be required to provide the same.
And it appears they're proposing a little spot. Looks like you could, well, no, is that connecting to another street? It looks like it's close enough to the curb cut. A fire truck could back out if they had to.
One of the conditions will be that plating will be required for the property, at which point we'll work through fire access and all of that as far as, you know, the length of the drive and so forth.
Fantastic. Entertain any further support of this request? Do we have an applicant online?
We do, Brandon. Thank you. This is Skip Colvin, 640 Grandview Heights. My wife and I own the property under MAC Development, LLC. And we will have a circle drive in the end, which will be in accordance with the requirements to turn a fire truck around in that circle.
Great. And is your plan to sell these lots, develop these lots?
We're going to develop. We've entertained several people already that are interested in purchasing once we get approval. And then we'll build those houses, build to suit. We may do one spec home on the property to finish out the subdivision. But yes, we will develop the property and build it.
Great.
And we do have David on with Crow Construction, who will be our general contractor for developing the subdivision. We will have the restrictions, minimum requirements on the homes, 2,500 square feet, certain architectural requirements will be in as well. We're working on those plans now.
Great. And are you aware of the 11 staff recommendations?
I have not seen those yet, no.
Okay. Well, let me run through those then, if you haven't heard those. So the permitted uses are limited to single family residential with a maximum of 4 dwelling units. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong one. Oh my gosh. Where'd they go?
I'd be happy to read them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, please. Yeah. I don't have my paper copy in front of me.
Sorry.
You're good.
Permitted uses are limited to single-family residential with a maximum of 4 dwelling units. Number 2, all standards and uses other than those defined shall be governed by the restrictions of the R1 zoning district. Number 3, maximum height of primary residence shall not exceed 45 feet. Number 4, building setbacks shall be front, exterior, and rear at 25 feet, interior 6 feet. 1 accessory structure per primary residence is allowed on the north side of the access easement with a maximum area no greater than 50% of the heated and cooled square footage of the primary residence. Trees 12 inches and greater in diameter shall remain unless they directly impede home construction, pose a safety hazard, or are a noxious species. Number 7, applicant shall plat the property in accordance with the subdivision regulations. Number 8, applicant shall return a signed copy of the final development plan agreement prior to issuance of the building permits. Number 9, all roadway improvements shall be maintained privately. 10, a property owners association shall be required to be formed and operate in perpetuity to maintain all common areas and improvements such as streets, entry gate, and lighting. 11, PUD shall be generally developed according to the proposed plan and the PUD proposal Exhibit A. Minor variations from the approved plan may be allowed by approval from the planning director.
Thank you, James.
Thanks, James. Would you mind going back over 4? I didn't catch 4. Just want to make sure I had that one right.
Front, exterior, and rear setbacks are 25. Interior setbacks are 6 feet.
Got it. No problem. I don't know. Okay, good. Thank you.
So Skip, do you have any objections to any of those?
No, actually, from what I see, all of that has already, the 12-inch trees, we were already going to keep the trees anyway. We're just going to clean out the underbrush, just really kind of clean it up so it looks more like a park. I mean, everything else is kind of in accordance with what we're going to do anyway. We were going to have a POA, so POA will take care of the road, the gate, the lighting, all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, everything fits with what we're going to do anyway.
Fantastic. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
So we entertain any opposition. Do we have any opposition to this request?
Yes. So I have a few comments to read, and then Dr. Stella Chopik is here as well. But I'll go ahead and read these comments. The following public comment was received via email on February 1st, 2021. Concerning streets going into the area, Daisy, Catherine, and West Streets are now actually a 1-lane street. Many cars meet, both have to move over into the ditches to get by. Lakefront Drive has no street lights now. Power lines are behind houses. Excess traffic on the narrow streets and no street lights on Lakefront cause a safety hazard for the residents now. Are there plans to improve the streets? Are there plans to add sidewalks? Does the main entrance come in off West Street or from the backside of the area? There has been 4 new houses built in the last 2 years and 5 new houses being built now on Grandview Heights. Traffic has increased twice as much now. 5 to 6 more houses will only increase the problem. Jim Smith, 302 Lakefront Drive, 72032. And I'll clarify, a lot of these questions were answered. We had the applicant and which were able to visit during the public meeting, but wanted to read these into the record. January 26, 21, would very much like to know what the plans are. Are there any site plans, environment impact, traffic impact, or any information at all that can be posted or forwarded to the neighbors, please? That was from Clay Dyert. Where can I find a copy of the proposed site and land use plan? Thank you, Ron Harrison. And then I will not cover Ms. Chopik's questions or comments since she's online. So,
can I speak, or do I do that later?
No, yes, ma'am. We'd love to hear your comments now. If you'll state your name and address for the record, and then what we'd like to say.
Yeah, my name is Stella Chapik. I live at 325 Catherine Drive, and I've been a long-term resident and neighbor out here. And I attended the public meeting, and I appreciated the responses and the information, but I have 2 lingering concerns, and one is social and the other one is environmental, ecological. The social one is, why do we need a gated community? That seems to be the use that's most inconsistent with what we have here now. And I don't know why it makes sense to have a gated community. I understand there are economic incentives to develop a gated community, and I understand why people often move into a gated community for feelings of security and maybe having people who are more like them in the community. But I think given that we're such a divided society right now, and the evidence about how gated communities often cut up civic space and separate people, and also it's really new and different for this neighborhood here, I just wonder why the gate needs to be on there. If someone would like to answer that, that's my big social question.
Well, Ms. Stella, let me answer that social question. This is Skip again. Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I'll try to answer this one the same way that I did before. These homes are going to be, roughly about $500,000. They are exclusive to be on that lake. And I know you don't necessarily, you mentioned that word before. Exclusion actually is, I think, the word you mentioned before. But what I would say is that, these 4 homes is really designed to be a really nice neighborhood for families to live on and their kids to play on the street and ride their bikes and, maybe have a little trail to walk around the wooded area because it's going to be so wooded. And the gate for me is a security for those 4 homes to be behind that gate. And, those are going to be beautiful homes back there. And I understand your social issue. We've got to be careful, though, Ms. Stella, that we can't say, oh, we're a divided society when there's gated communities all over this community. And some people on this call live behind those gated communities. So, what my concern would be is that, if you have someone that has a concern or has an issue with, being behind a gate, and they live in a gated subdivision, they need to sell their house and move. Okay. These 4 homes are not going to cause that much traffic down that road. It's not going to be something that's isolated. These homes are not going to be something that's outside of the architectural design of what we see at, maybe Centennial or something along those lines, or Turnberry, which are all gated subdivisions, by the way. So, my thought process is, let's build some beautiful homes that families can buy, that have kids, that want to keep their kids safe, that they can ride bicycles up and down a private road. They can walk around their neighborhood. without worrying about people flying down the road and maybe possibly getting hit, which does happen, by the way, on Lake Drive or whatever that is. You know, there's a lot of cars that go down there that probably shouldn't be. So, you know, our thing from a social standpoint is we want to create a beautiful atmosphere for people to live in and celebrate their home and their success of being able to build a home, and be able to have their children, you know, walk up and down the street to their neighbor's house and have a good time and walk around the around the neighborhood in the woods. So, you know, from a social standpoint, that's our stance on it. So, and I respect yours, but you know, I believe what we're doing is actually helping from a social standpoint of having kids be able to go outside and play and do things like that outside. So.
I appreciate your response. I'm certainly not condemning anyone who lives in a gated community, lest anyone think that that was my intent. But we already have kids walking here, kids playing outside, riding their bikes, and it's a nice sort of at least semi-diverse neighborhood. And my point is, if we think that that has to be put behind a fence, it does send a message. And I'm not the only one who has had this concern, although I don't know if there's anyone at this meeting who also has it, but I feel compelled to express that because it is a big change for us. So thank you for responding to that. The second question, it's the same one of the same ones I had at the public meeting, is ecological impacts. And I do appreciate that there in the report it says, and also you just said that trees beyond a certain size would be kept. I'm just concerned that we're losing a lot of our wildlife habitat, which is one of the things that we really appreciate out here. And they don't always want to be in a park. They like that underbrush that we have around here. So one of the concerns is sort of long-term impact, wildlife habitat loss. And I know you addressed that in the public meeting, but still concerned. And the other one is the more immediate impact. Building that number of houses creates a lot of displacement of soil and runoff and a lot of noise pollution, and hopefully not degradation to the pond. But I do have that concern because we've had a lot of building out here, but we haven't had that much at once, and a road that's private with a gate. So I don't know if you have any more comments about that, but I also feel really compelled to express that.
Well, and I appreciate that, Ms. Stella. And my agreement with the wildlife is like yours. I don't want to do anything but enhance the wildlife out there. Absolutely. That's my thing I love to do in the morning is watch my ducks and my geese on my pond. So the last thing I want to do is to hinder that. You know, and I appreciate that long term. The short term, you know, I think David with Crow had mentioned that, you know, one of the things that they had bid in their plan is a lot of the protection of runoff into our pond. The last thing I want to do is mess our pond up. That's the whole reason we bought this home, is because of the pond. But you know, I think from our standpoint, we're going to do every possible thing we can to make sure that we keep livestock, or not livestock, but keep the wildlife coming to that area. And of course, I don't know if you know this or not, but I try to enhance that environment by, you know, I'm looking at planting plants down around the pond that the ducks and the geese like, so that they keep coming back every year. So, you know, I'm like you, I love the wildlife and I want to keep it. Running it away would just, it would not be good, you know, for what we like out here.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Stella. We have any further commentary from the public?
No, we don't.
Thank you, James. Commissioners, do you have any questions for our applicant, Skip, or Ms. Stella, or staff in general? And bring this back in discussion. Any further discussion?
Okay, there being no further discussion or questions, I'll make a move that we approve the request to rezone that area from R1 to PUD with the listed conditions from the staff.
Second.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Rebecca. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Skip. Thank you, Miss Stella. Okay, now we move to another request to rezone from R1 to PUD. And this is at 1150 Museum Road, 1 and 3 Oak Grove Drive.
Yes. The last item is, as you said, Oak Grove PUD. The applicant is requesting rezoning from R1 single family residential to planned unit development. The property is approximately 6.5 acres and is located at 1150 Museum Road and 1 and 3 Oak Grove Drive. The site is developed with 2 single family residences, which are proposed to remain as a part of the plan. Adjacent properties to the north and east are zoned R1 and A1, while properties to the south and west are both zoned C3. The PUD proposes a mixture of single family and 2 family uses with reduced setbacks as noted in the report. All units would front on Oak Grove Drive, which is a private drive proposed to be improved as a part of this request. If approved, the development would be expected to generate an average of 266 vehicle trips a day, consistent with the expected volumes that would be generated under the existing R1 zoning for the site. The project site is designated single family by the comprehensive plan, which is consistent with the uses proposed in the PUD. A 5-foot sidewalk is proposed on the east side of the private drive, and staff has recommended approval with conditions as the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is unlikely to cause harm to the adjacent properties. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is that the property behind, that's going to be running behind Canes?
It is. It's further down that Oak Grove Drive, the development.
The private area that.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Oh, I thought it was.
Any other questions for you?
So the only entrance off of that would be off of Oak Street?
It'll actually, it'll loop back around the museum, so it'll have two access points.
Oh, okay.
That I'll note that front portion of Oak Grove Drive that connects to Oak Street, most of that's being improved by the Raising Cane's development plan. So that will be improved as well.
Okay, I get you.
Do we still have Bobby on the line? Have anything to add, Mr. French?
Yes, this is Bobby French with Central Arkansas Professional Surveying again, 1021 Front Street. You know, basically, I don't really have anything to say unless somebody's had questions. I think Levi covered most of everything, and we agree with any of the conditions that staff recommends.
Thank you, Bobby. James, do we have any opposition to this request?
There's no public comment on this item.
Great. Well, then we will bring it back into commission. Commissioners?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Rebecca and a second by Mr. Webb. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I need to abstain, please.
Thank you, Laura. Any opposed? So I assume that passes. Arthur, I didn't see your bubble blink.
I'm here. I'm for it. I'm sorry.
Okay, very good. So motion passes 7 to 1 abstention. And that is our last agenda item for tonight. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss?
Okay, no further discussion. I'll take Ann's place and make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You all stay warm tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you next month.